This unit actually has two parts. It has four chapters, chapters 7, 6, 8, and 9. So it's a pretty big unit, and lots of stuff, lots of facts, lots of information that we're going to be covering and going through. There are two different uh, note packets and several different worksheet packets that you're going to be getting with this unit. So uh, we're going to be getting into a lot of different things with this unit. The first one that we're going to get started into here is going to kind of talk about some of the basics of what is a political party, and kind of getting into some of the very basic elements of it, and we'll be getting into several other things. And then you also have an activity to be doing, and that's what this website here is that you're going to go to, and I'll get to that activity a little bit later on. Also, what we're going to get into now is we're going to talk about what exactly is political parties, who makes up political parties, and then when have political parties get developed, and how have they developed throughout the history. We're going to get into the function or purpose of political parties, which basically there are four major functions of political parties, and then we're going to get into the debate between a two-party versus a multi-party system. The United States traditionally is pretty much a two-party system, whereas other countries around the world, especially in Europe, is a multi-party system, and we'll talk a little bit about whether one's better than the other. And then we're going to focus in on minority parties. Even though the United States, as I said, is a two-party system, the minority parties play a significant role. And right now, we really are seeing a major shift going on in our country when it comes to political parties. A lot of people are breaking away from the Republican and Democratic viewpoint of political parties, and they're moving more into the independent side, and that gives a lot of leeway for some of these minority parties to begin to gain some status and some importance, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. All right. First off, we have this little video which basically gets into and outlines over what exactly is a liberal and what exactly is a conservative. So I'm going to play that one first, and you can just watch it.
It's time for Uncle Jay Explains the News. Now here's the guy who helps little minds understand big news stories, Uncle Jay.
Hi, boys and girls. Well, Uncle Jay's news word for this week is a word that politicians use quite a lot, and the word is liberal. Now, very often you may notice that when they use this word, they use another word along with it, and that word is conservative. And these are the two main types of politicians who run the government from Washington. A conservative thinks that government should only spend money on things that are absolutely necessary, like maintaining defense, delivering the mail, and kissing up to wealthy corporate contributors. But a liberal thinks government should spend money on people who really need it, like the poor and minorities and wealthy corporate contributors. Now, even though these two kinds of politicians don't like each other very much, and they don't like each other very, very much, they do have some things in common. They both have heroes that they revere and demons that they despise. And they both blame each other for America's problems. And you know, boys and girls, they're both about half right. A thinks that all Americans should be free to live their lives as they wish, as long as they're not violating someone else's rights. A thinks that all Americans should be free to violate someone else's rights as long as they're living their lives as they wish. But you know, boys and girls, if you reverse those definitions, they still pretty much work. And now it's time to answer one of your news questions. This week it comes from Christina in Tacoma, Washington. Hi, Christina. And she writes, Dear Uncle Jay, my dad doesn't like any of the choices left for president. He wants to just vote no. Can grown-ups vote for president that way? Just vote no? Thanks, Christina. No, you must vote for a name that is printed on the ballot. Although you can also write in the name of someone else that you like, so that you can help the person you least want to become president to be president. But
Oops, sorry. Okay, so when it comes to political parties, then, and what Uncle Jay there was talking about is this concept of liberals and conservatives there. And that is very important. But the other thing that's very important to understand is that both sides, both liberals and conservatives, really want this country to grow. Neither one is anti-American. Neither side wants to destroy America. Neither side wants to take away the basic concepts and ideology of America, the capitalistic society, the free enterprise. You hear this, but it's very much not true. And the fact is that they both are looking to provide for a betterment of a nation. They both are looking to protect the United States. They're both looking to improve the United States economically. It's just that they both have very different, distinct ideologies. And the video there kind of goes into a little bit about what each side has those basic ideologies and their belief systems are. So what exactly is a political party? Here is a three-part definition, which you can get down. It's a major link. It provides a way for the public to have a say, and it helps in recruiting, nominating, and electing. Okay, some other things that you make sure that you do want to get down, and this is going to go into your worksheet and your packet there on materials that you need to make sure you cover. The Constitution mentions nothing about political parties. In fact, George Washington, our first president of the United States, was the only president who was non-political. He did not belong to any party. And he hated political parties. In his last speech before he left office after 8 years as President of the United States, George Washington said that if political parties continue in this country, they will be the downfall of this country. And in many ways, I think George Washington is very right. Political parties have divided this country. They have split this nation very much. We saw that with the Civil War. Everyone always, contemplates the Civil War as slavery, but really the Civil War came down to ideology. You had the South, which believed very much in the ideology of states' rights over federal government rights. They did not want the federal government telling them what to do. They were afraid that the federal government was going to take away their slaves. Just like today, you have all these people panicking and running around screaming that Hillary Clinton or any other Democrat is going to take away the guns of gun owners. And it just, if people would just realize that a lot of that, 90% of it, is completely bogus and false, we would be a much better society. But that's not what happens. Instead, people become panicky and they look at just the negative, and they basically believe those 30-second ads or those 15-second spots where you hear a politician scream those kinds of things, and it works for them. So consequently, we have split our nation, we have divided our nation, and excuse me, and it's been a great harm to the country then because of that then. So when we talk about party ideology and who identifies with the party, here again is, and you can get this down, is kind of a split of where our nation stands. For Democrats, traditionally Catholics, Jews, and in most cases it's those who do not follow a church or go to church at all, agnostics, who are not the same as atheists. Agnostics believe in God. They just do not believe that God is someone that you would pray to or someone that you would read the Bible over. They believe that God created the universe and created the humans, but then it has no other connection to us whatsoever. Mostly women are a part of the Democratic Party, and then you can see they're minorities. Here's where the Democratic Party has grown in size over the years, is that the minority race, especially Hispanic, which is the fastest growing minority group in the United States and fastest growing group overall in the United States. And with that growth, the Democratic Party is really beginning to see a surge in their power base when it comes to party identification. Now, on the Republican side, they are the traditional Protestant evangelical Christians, male, white, over the age of 65. Well, here's where the Republican Party is finding some problems, is that their base, their group, is dying off. Whites are slowing in terms of growth of population, especially the age factor is becoming more and more of a problem for the Republican Party. So they are seeing that their party is beginning to shrink. Now, where we're seeing a huge growth is in the independent party. And really, there is no independent party. There's minority parties that makes up that segment, what we call independent. But again, you can see the religious affiliation, it's random. It's not one specific. There's also a split when it comes to the sexes of gender. Race is kind of a mixture. Really, it's just people who are tired of the fighting going on between the Republicans and Democrats, and they then are deciding to break away. The problem is they just don't have enough power. They don't have enough money. They don't have enough structure. They don't have enough of what it takes to become a major political party. So then what does it take? to become a major political party? Well, first off, you have to understand what are the functions that political parties serve, and there are 5 major functions that they serve. The first is that they recruit candidates. That means they bring people in, they find people who they believe would be good candidates to run, and they're constantly always looking around to try to find these individuals who are good on their feet, smart thinking, have a good persona, a good character, they look good in front of a camera, all those kinds of different qualifications. And then once they find those people, then the second thing that political parties do is they get them to win the election by getting them out there and organizing the election. They will get out there and get voter registration drives. They will recruit volunteers. They will get out bumper stickers, yard signs, poster board, all those things. And they will set up and organize the campaign rallies. And basically, if you're the candidate and you are under one of these 2 parties, Republican or Democrat, you really have it made pretty good because they're going to do the work for you. You just have to show up, and you just have to be able to look good in front of that camera then, and make sure you don't say something wrong or do something wrong. Number 3 is that they present alternative policies. That's what political parties basically are looking at doing, is trying to come up with solutions to all the different problems going on in the world. Right now, nobody has a solution to the world's problem when it comes to terrorism and what we're going to do about it. And everyone always thinks that they can easily solve this problem, but you cannot easily solve a problem in which you are fighting not a country, but you are fighting basically an ideology of the extremist Islamic religion, which is something that you just can't win that easily with bombs and with soldiers. But that's what the political parties try to do, is to try to solve that. Number 4 is they will operate the government. Once they get into the office, they will pass the bills that they want to become law, and they will defeat the bills that they don't want. And they make sure that they follow what the party's telling them to do. Then the 5th one is that they have to organize in opposition. And especially if you're the party that's out of power right now, your job is to attack. Every time the party in power does something that is going to get them in trouble, your party, your position is to attack and attack and attack, so that you then can destroy that opposition party and then take over as the new reigning party. The 3 components to make up a political party, and this is kind of where the minority parties run into problem, is that you must have a party organization, a party electorate, and a party in government. And again, your worksheet really gets into these 3 and gets you some questions to answer from your textbook that will really help explain what these 3 do. I'm just going to briefly state that a party organization is made up of 3 levels: the national, state, and local. So again, that's a problem that minority parties have, is they can't have that overall structure where they can run in all 3 areas. We do have some minority parties that are winning at the local level and even a few at the state level, but they cannot get that national organization set up yet. And part of the problem is they cannot get that second stage, which is the party electorate, those grassroots supporters, those people that live and die for the party. And that's really where the 2 major parties can gain that control and that power. However, we are seeing one minority party that is really beginning to expand that, and that is the Tea Party. And they do have those diehard supporters, and they have threatened to break away from the Republican Party if the Republican Party doesn't kowtow to what they want them to do. And basically, the Republican Party has done that here over the last couple of years. The last one is party in government, which is again made up of all 3 levels then. The next thing we're going to get into, and we're going to stop here now, is the resurgence and the demise of political parties. And so we're going to be getting into that in a different video. So I'm going to close off now and let you work on your worksheets and get into your reading. And then we will get back together again after a little bit.